Hello, I'm David Kragos. I want to welcome you back to the Foundations of Executive Presence course. In part two of this overview, we're going to talk about your three most essential inner resources as a leader. Again, the goal of the Executive Presence practices that are provided in this course will support you in fully leveraging these resources. I'm also going to go into some neuroscience research that is revealing an underutilized capacity that we all have in us to foster greater resiliency, focus, and creativity that we need to thrive when we face extreme levels of uncertainty like we are now. So engaging these three most important inner resources are also fundamental to your ability to execute priorities at the highest level as a business leader. They are fundamental to everything you do. So the first key resource is maximizing your energy. We've all had days when we had to muscle our way through the day due to feeling drained. Equally, we know what a difference it makes when our energy is abundant. So having maximal energy is key to your success as a leader. Now, this course will not handle all you have to do to enhance your energy. Clearly, things like diet, exercise, and sleep are also critically important here. Yet engaging the practices shared will support you in this area. The most present leaders I know guard and protect their energy and respect what they need to do to enhance it. Now, the second key resource is the ability to direct your intentions. I'm always surprised when I start working with clients how few engage intentionality in a consistent and conscious way. Certainly, most leaders have goals and priorities, but the conscious engagement of intentionality stops here or is used intermittently. I suggest to those I work with that you should constantly be asking, what is my intention for this situation, decision, meeting, conversation I'm having, or for the use of a particular period of time? And as part of this course, I also offer you an opportunity to create a vision for your leadership impact that incorporates your purpose, values, and key guiding principles for leadership. This vision can serve as your context for all other intentions that you set as a leader. The third resource is engaging your attention. This is a bit subtler one than the first two. It is also key to maintaining the other first two resources. So I want to spend a bit more time on this one. Now, as I noted in part one, the ability to consciously engage attention is essential to your focus. It is also the basis of maintaining an integrated view of your priorities in every area of your business and life. The ability to consciously direct our attention is directly connected to the quality of your self-awareness. That said, neuroscience research has shown that 95% or better of the time, most of us are on autopilot, and that includes the use of our attention. This means that unconscious habit, not conscious decisions, are directing our attention much of the time. Now, this is not a bad thing. For example, because of your training and expertise, you automatically know how to move your attention on those things that forward a result or fix a problem for a client or for somebody that reports to you. This is because you've spent many hours learning and applying your trade and business acumen. Another example of engaging habitual attention can come to play is because we have learned to think strategically. So you know how to align the 10,000-foot view of things with the tactical actions you have to take to complete a project, for example. And in these cases, our attention autopilot is very helpful. That said, there are times when this autopilot does not serve us, especially when we're reacting out of fear, anxiety, or from upset. So how does this play out? An event occurs, and in a blink of an eye, we're saying and doing things we regret. Or we feel a high degree of stress. We might stay at work at extra long to try to push something through, even when we are exhausted. We eat on the run rather than taking time to eat something healthy, or we take other actions that do not serve us. In most cases, when we reacted in these ways, we have lost some level of self-control. And as we do this over the years, we form habits that don't serve our greater good, let alone help us be effective as leaders. Every day as soon as you get up, your attention is immediately extended outward. We bounce out of bed, get dressed, take a shower, make coffee, have breakfast, check our email, take care of our family, make the commute to work, or currently, we probably just have to take a few steps down the hallway to our home office. And once in the office, while we attempt to go with the plan for our day, our attention tends to be hijacked and redirected by others and outer circumstances, as is our interpretation of those circumstances and our reaction to them. Again, much of this is on autopilot. Now, Kelly McGonigal, who's a Stanford psychologist and neuroscience researcher, has said this about engaging attention. There's a secret to greater self-control, and science points to one thing: the power of paying attention. And I would emphasize the power of consciously paying attention. Again, I'm spending time on this inner resource because it also supports the use of your energy and your engagement with intentionality. The use of intention is what directs you, what you focus on, how you make decisions, how you engage with others in conversations, how you deal with challenges that are emerging, etc. And as a leader, it is critical to remember that you also help direct others' attention based on your use of attention and, of course, intention. This includes the direction you set, how you engage people in conversations, how you set context for meetings, etc. Thus, the more you learn to take conscious charge of your attention, the more effective a leader you will be, and this is at the heart of why growing executive presence is so critical today. In addition, the thing that exhausts us most as leaders is the constant outer use of our attention, away from ourselves. When we allow our attention to be constantly directed outward, it's like leaving the house without a charging cord for your computer. Similarly, as your attention is constantly directed outward without any chance for renewal, you burn up energy and become exhausted. Thus, our lack of control over our attention, or lack of finding time for renewal of our attention, is a major cause for poor decisions, reactivity, and burnout. Now, you might be asking, well, why is it so hard to constantly and consciously engage my attention, to be mindful and maximize my energy and lead through intention? Or why is it so hard to choose renewal and self-care over trying to fill my day with constant activity at work? Kelly McGonigal's research also provides some answers to this question. Kelly says we have one mind and two brains: a survival reactive brain and what I call a conscious creative brain. And neuroscience research indicates that most people are still living out of the survival reactive brain. What's important to note is this brain was built to get us out of dangerous situations, much like cave people had to deal with day-to-day basis as they avoided saber-toothed tigers, faced the elements, and had to constantly scavenge for food to survive. Now, while our survival brain is important, it's also much less needed in the world today. And we're coming to understand that we have not evolved much from this survival brain, even though we're not constantly facing survival mechanisms. In fact, this might be the main reason we are facing a sense of separation in the world, as we mistakenly seek what feels like safety through divisiveness. What's most important to point out is that these mechanisms are unconscious to us, and because of this, they hide the greater resourcefulness that I spoke about earlier. Yet, by engaging the three resources consciously, you're able to face any challenge you face. So let's take a look at these two brains. The survival brain has 4 characteristics. It has a running commentary. The brain tends to be critical of the current situation and runs potential alternatives. It then takes the path of least resistance. It loves the comfort zone. So it goes for that donut rather than the salad. Or it yells at a direct report rather than taking the time to understand what happened and why it happened and how we can solve the problem. So in those situations, that's what we're doing when we're reacting. It time travels. It's constantly looking at the past or extending into the future. This is where worry comes in, and regretting something that we've done when it's already done. It comes from being in the survival brain. It's self-referential in its processing. It identifies with what's happening around us as if it's happening to me. And so we personalize everything that's occurring when we're in the survival mechanism because we're trying to survive, right? So when that happens, we cut ourselves off from others, off from support, and we do not engage effectively. It also has an aspect of social cognition. We're wondering about what others are thinking about us or what we're thinking about them. And this can lead to a kind of a judgmental orientation. Again, when we need this survival brain under great danger, it's very important. And right now it makes sense that we're all kind of in a heightened survival state, but it's not really like cavemen facing saber-toothed tigers. But this level of, what's important to mention is this level of constant stress is abnormal. The survival brain is meant to face momentary danger, but when we are in it constantly, it's consistently releasing the stress hormone cortisol in our systems, and such levels are toxic to the rest of our body and will lead to disease and burnout if not dealt with. Now, there's another side of our brain that's built for these times. It became available in our evolution, especially with the development of the frontal lobes. It is what I call, as I said, the conscious creative brain. And here are its characteristics. When we're in this part of our brain, we are in learning mode. We assess the challenge of opportunity not as something we want to get away from, but as a chance to grow and improve ourselves and our approach. We're engaging a growth mindset, which I'll speak about later. We are present. We're fully in the moment, centered, focused, open, relaxed, even playful. And when we are present, we are much more capable of dealing with what's happening now, which is all we ever have to deal with. What's happening now? Third, it's us referential processing. We think in terms of we, us, ours. We find fulfillment in forwarding what's best for the collective. We value interdependence. So the more we spend time in this conscious creative brain, the more we're building for the future with others. We're collectively building the new normal, if you will. Finally, it's outcome focused. We are intentional, focusing not on how others are thinking about us, but we're focusing on forwarding our vision and key priorities. And again, this course and the practices prescribed will help us lean into this more conscious, creative side of ourselves, which is already there waiting to be developed. Now, I want to point back to the law of focus and bring all this together that I just spoke about. The law of focus and attention states you experience and create what you most focus or put your attention on. But when we're hooked by the survival brain, this corollary comes into play. If you don't choose what to focus on, your subconscious will direct your attention for you. And that's, again, the value of consciously choosing. So let's do a quick summary of where we've been so far. We are living in a time of tremendous upheaval that many are calling a VUCA world on steroids. A world that's highly volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, and only going to become more so. Much of what we are facing, we have never faced before. And as good intentioned as many are in trying to figure out how to be effective in this environment, we are facing limitations of what we know and what we think. And most of us have been living a life in a kind of survival autopilot. That might have worked up to recently, but if we don't evolve from this, it's going to get increasingly challenging to live and work in a way that leads to fulfillment and satisfaction, let alone help us generate the necessary innovations to thrive in this new world. Now, in part one of the interview, I pointed to the fact that we're at the highest stress level according to APA stress index. But we have been seeing a rising stress for a while. Back in 2013, according to the Wall Street Journal, Harvard Medical School study found that some 96% of senior executive leaders feel somewhat burned out, and a third described it as extreme burnout. Again, if we don't take this seriously, we're going to see dramatic negative impact on the results for our organizations if we don't address this and begin to operate differently. Finally, we're being called to evolve. To live in this world, we have to evolve on how we approach each other to create a new normal that supports everyone. The good news is everything you need to evolve is right within you. You just need to invest some time in focusing on developing your more conscious and creative brain. As with any new habit, it won't develop by itself. Again, the entire aim of this course is to help you build the foundation to do so. In part 3 of this overview, we're going to talk about how we make sense of the world as human beings and really shine a light on the truth of this. And it's just important that we emphasize this so we get a better understanding and get more freedom to act in a new way. I want to thank you again for watching this part of the overview. I look forward to seeing you in part 3. Thanks again for listening.